hey guys, guess what? There's a new community feedback update, which got posted and then got taken down. I think they accidentally posted it in a draft form. I'm not sure what happened. Either way, the internet is quick to copy, paste, screenshot, and all the rest. So we have a community feedback update to go through with some proposed balance changes, which apparently are already on the test map. I'm not 100% sure if they are or not. You guys in chat can let me know if they're still on the test map. Let's take a look and let's look at that. So, hey everyone, over the past few months, we've been tracking tournament results and following discussions around the TVP and ZVP matchups and the strength of Protoss in general. What we've seen from tournaments tells a mixed story. Overall, global tournament win rates have remained close, with Protoss arguably underperforming in the WCS circuit. But at the same time, the most recent offline Korean leagues have seen unusually high Protoss representation. Whilst the results might paint a picture of Protoss' strength, we don't believe they tell the whole story. Rather, and what we find more concerning, what we are focusing on for our next update is how players view and talk about the Protoss matchups. They're going to address, they're trying to fix Protoss in all caps. They're going to try and change the perception of Twitch chat by the sounds of it. Holy shit, Blizzard Balance team, I salute you for your bravery, but kind of the same way I see a dude who's about to pick up his bayonet and charge a machine gun nest. I'm not sure you've got too much of a chance of changing that one. People are stupid. It's like one guy, he's like, Elon Musk's like, I'm going to raise the IQ of the world by 300 per person. I'm like, I know you're great, Elon Musk. You're very smart. That's not possible. We'll see how it goes. I like it, though. Bravery. Bravery in the face of fire. Let's go for it. In both TVP and ZVP, discussions seem to boil down to how binary either matchup feels. In TVP, while tank timing pushes feel strong, Terrans say they feel disadvantaged as the game progresses. In ZVP, while Zerg players struggle with scouting and responding to Protoss' various openings, professional level Protoss players often give feedback that they're the ones who are disadvantaged in the late game. As a general rule, we believe that it's perfectly healthy and even desirable that certain races have advantages over others at different stages of the game. In a designer's ideal world, all races would have different types of advantages at all stages, e.g. direct army strength versus harass potential. So even if maybe you can lose the frontal fight, you've got more mobility, you can run around and hit mineral lines. Makes sense. The concern in the current metagame comes when players feel like there is a clear, identifiable point early in the game where the advantage swaps from one race to the other, and the race that perceives themselves at the disadvantage feels they have insufficient options to disrupt this outcome. With these principles in mind, we'd like to test some changes on the testing tab to gather feedback for an upcoming balance update. This time we'll be trying something new as we plan to release 2 sets of changes for testing. We believe both sets could result in positive improvements, but as they alter different aspects of the game, we're interested in your feedback before we determine what the best options are. The first and more experimental set of test changes will be available today. The second set of changes will be available for testing on the week of July 15th. Okay, before we look at those changes, guys, you might not actually know about the testing tab. I know a lot of people don't. Versus testing. Now, obviously, that doesn't work. So obviously they didn't mean to actually post this straight away, or they took it down because it's not live just yet. Maybe there was a tech problem with getting the testing. Normally, you can go there. It's a 1v1 ladder just like this. I believe it goes off your main race MMR. I don't think it's a separate MMR. I'm not sure. And basically, you just match with other people playing the testing ladder, and it has all the balance changes built into it, which is it's just a cool way of getting some testing going and that sort of stuff. Okay, so Terran Stim Pack upgrade research duration decreased from 121 to 100 seconds. In early wings, we increased the research duration of Stim Pack in order to temper the strength of 3 Rax openers in TVP, which at the time was difficult for Protoss players to defend against, especially at lower levels. Fast forward to today, with the addition of Adepts, shield batteries, along with changes to Stalkers and starting economy, have drastically altered the build's dynamics. That said, a common complaint in TVP is Terran's difficulty in punishing a fast Protoss third. We believe a revert to this change could help to address it by, number 1, creating new openers that Protoss will have to account for. Number 2, allowing Terran to more seamlessly transition from tech-based openings to a bio-based mid-game. And number 3, perhaps most importantly, reducing the window in which the upgrade can be sniped. Do you guys remember the week when people kept flying in with 4 oracles and killing the tech lab on the... That was my favorite week of the TVP meta. Just like, I'm like watching it in GS. I'm like, is Trap going to fly 4 oracles in and snipe the stim? Oh my God, that's so clever. Opens Twitch chat. Everyone's like, fucking Protoss, 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 and you just, the collective roar of the internet. They're like, that's not fair. I don't think this should be important. It says more importantly, reducing the window into the upgrade can be sniped. That's not important at all. No, the other things are much more important. You don't want to, the window something can be sniped. Yeah, it matters, but I think the other things are more important. I don't think that's really the reason for it. In my opinion, I don't think it should be the reason for it. That's always something you can defend. As annoying as it is, and as common as it's been, 1 in 3 or 4 maps for a little while we were having get sniped. Changing it for that reason, the other ones are much more impactful. Our concerns surrounding this change revolve around overly increasing the power of 2-base tank call-ins and TVP as a side effect, and of course overly impacting TVZ, partly by effectively speeding up the time in which combat shields comes online. So yeah, basically your 2-on-1, you could do like some faster versions of the 2-on-1 with Stim. You could also then have the follow-up to the 2-on-1 with the combat shields and the third medevac of Marines hitting at a really powerful timing. So new upgrade, enhanced shockwaves, increases the radius of the Ghost EMP from 1.5 to 2. Cost 150, research time 79 seconds. Oh, cool. That's like just making EMP really good against High Templar and for hitting the army in TVP. Doesn't really do anything to combat the Warp Prism, which is the main problem. That being said, I feel like Terran players have been getting better and better at having a couple of Vikings in their army against these storm compositions. Just a couple of Vikings plus an EMP on that Prism, and it disappears pretty quickly. So I feel like players aren't getting as stomped by the storm drop as possible, as previously. But it's just like a cool little upgrade to boost EMP in late game. I like it. Good for hitting those Infestor packs and those Queen packs as well, those Zerg players. We receive a lot of feedback why TVP is perceived to favor Protoss. A constant throughout is the raw direct strength of the late game Protoss army. We believe the proposed change will not only help Terran in direct engagements, also shift the age-old zoning relationship between Ghost and Templar a bit more in the Ghost's favor. Warp Prisms will be more and more of a must with your High Templar. So, cool. Instead of an upgrade, instead of a baked-in improvement, we don't want to impact the strength of 3-base Terran all-ins and TVP or ruin Templar-based mid-games. Even as an upgrade, we'll be monitoring the effects of this change closely, as it's also going to impact TVZ, a matchup where Ghosts are already perceived to be very powerful late-game unit. Yeah, it's good they're aware of that. Zerg, Infested Terran, Infested Rocket damage decreased from 14 to 12. Yeah, I think that's a good change. I honestly don't think that'll change that much, guys. I'm not even going to read everything. This is a massive post. Basically, the way it works is everyone just runs away from Infested Terrans. If you can actually fungal or neural units and trap them under the Infested Terrans, like, they die so quickly. I still think that the damage is pretty damn good. And remember, that gets up to +3 damage from upgrades as well, right? So that goes up to 15 damage at max rather than 17. I still think that's very powerful. Still think that's really powerful, so I think that's fine. Carry Interceptor build time decreased from 11 to 9 seconds. Yeah, I think that's fine as well. Interceptors take so long to rebuild at the moment. It's still going to take you, what's 9 times 8? 72, right? It's still going to take you 1 minute and 12 seconds to fully refill an Interceptor, a carrier's Interceptor count, which is a long time in a game of StarCraft. So I think this is a slight buff to it, so carriers aren't so useless once their Interceptors are dead. I'm totally fine with that. I don't think anyone's really thinking carriers are too strong at the moment with their slower launch speed. So I think that's cool. Just a little buff there, a little nerf there. Why not? We'd like to scale back the increase to the Interceptor's build time from last year's post-BlizzCon patch. Combined with the Infested Terran change, we'll keep an eye on how much the needle moves in terms of the PvZ late game. Yeah, I mean, obviously these are both things where it's like, I might see the fights and say, actually, oh, this is too, like both of these changes, carriers are too good in late game again or something. Maybe. I don't think that'll happen, but we'll see how it goes. Next is strategic recoil cooldown increased from 85 to 130 seconds. Oh, that's a big one. Can I call out all the fucking tools who last time, when they changed and they brought Nexus strategic recall in and I said it was a buff, all the Protoss players, pro gamers included, who called me out and said, Pig, it's a massive nerf. Strategic recall, it's so small, it's so bad. Pig. And I was like, dude, it has 1/3 of the cooldown of the previous recall, and you can clump your shit up and use it. It's a fantastic buff for the spell. And the number of people like, Pig, you're so wrong. We're never going to deal with strategic recall. It's so much worse. And since then, we've seen recall just being used so consistently with only 85%. It's been great. I think it's been a big buff, and I think I stick by that. Them nerfing it to 130, that's a big nerf. That's a big nerf. Yeah, we'll see how it goes. I think it's fine. I think it's fine to reduce recall. I've always felt like recall was a bit of a, oh, you guys know when you feel like your emotions are getting too involved and you're going in the realm of you're about to just start using emotional words? Gimmicky? I always thought recall felt gimmicky. It just didn't feel right to me being in StarCraft, like mass recall and stuff. Like, people are like, oh, but Brood War had the fucking shitty unit, the Arbiter or whatever it was, the mini mothership. I don't know, man. Yeah, but having it built onto a Nexus just always felt really silly to me. I don't know. It's useful and it's kind of needed at times, but it's just one of these many frustrating mechanics for people to play against. So I'm kind of okay with this getting nerfed. At the same time, I think about how good I've got at using recall recently, and I'm like, oh man, as a Protoss player, I'm like, At the same time, I don't think it'll impact too many of my situations. This is one I really want to talk to a bunch of pro gamers to get their thoughts on this. Obviously, it's a big nerf to strategic recall. It's a big increase on the cooldown. Let's see what pros say. I'm gonna reserve judgment on that one. Obviously, all I can say is it's a big nerf. We'll see how it goes. Yep. They can reposition their armies. We believe they can do it too frequently at the moment. It's meant to punish Protoss players who are out of position against multi-pronged harass. Yes, indeed. Get rid of the number of get out of jail free cards you have. Warp Prisms no longer start with the Warp Conduit passive ability, and Warp-ins will take 11 seconds when not near a Warp Gate or Nexus. They're making Warp Prisms have slow Warp-ins! Oh my god! Yeah, of course! Why not? Fucking bullshit, man. Fuck people sieging up a Prism in your main while it's getting shot by a Queen in a Spore and it still gets 8 Zealot Warp-ins. Fuck that. I'm always quite conservative with my Prisms anyway. I like to use my Prisms more to send in counterattacks from surprising angles because it's more reliable. This is a huge nerf. It's huge nerf, especially for the players who like to dive those Prisms into the bases. Like that high-level harassment, you're not going to be able to as reliably dive into a main base and warp in a ton of Zealots. That's huge. Also, but what is the Warp Conduit passive ability? I don't get it. So the Gravitic Drive upgrade now has the added that's the go into siege mode, right? The Gravitic Drive upgrade now has the additional functionality of granting Warp Prisms the Warp Conduit, reducing warp in time from 11 to. Oh, so okay, so Warp Prism speed also makes them fast warp in prisms. So if you really invest in the upgrade, wow, that's going to be a real power spike on that upgrade. Okay, but you can still warp in immediately. Okay, I was like, is Warp Conduit the passive ability which allows you? Okay, no, it says passive ability, not active ability. Okay, I see. So basically, Warp Conduit is simply a passive buff which you get with the Prism speed, which turns them into fast warp-ins. So they start off at slow warp-ins. I'm down with it. I'm fine with it. Let's see how it goes. So basically, what they've chosen here is the Warp Prism maintains its hit points and its shields. Obviously, they would have been thinking about making it more fragile. They were probably thinking about reducing pickup range, which I would have been okay with. But they've said, no, let's leave that there because it's cool micro ability. Let's take away its ability to warp in as quickly and suddenly until it gets that upgrade. I'm okay with this. I think this is cool. It's a big nerf. Totally fine with it. Yeah, I'm okay with it. That's fine. Obviously, we'll see how all these changes go. I don't think any of these will 100% break the game. Except maybe that one. That's huge, guys. This is the one. That's just a crazy change. Is it bad? No, I just mean it's big. I don't mean they're dumb for doing this. I literally just mean it's big. It's crazy as in this affects so much of Terran play. This 20 seconds doesn't sound... It's a big change. That's the one I'm like, I have no idea what's going to happen. I have no idea. It's going to be crazy. I think it's going to be really interesting to see where this goes, guys. But I want to see what happens with Stim. I will pull out some dirty all-ins. There's going to be a real learning phase. This is going to be fun. I will try to play a whole bunch of games on the test map and do some dirty builds to take advantage of specifically these things. Just to finish up, guys, basically they've said, look, Defender's advantage is tricky and RTS. Basically, PVZ, something sufficient. Low Defender's advantage in PvP. We acknowledge this is one of the riskiest mid-year changes we've ever proposed. First and foremost, we're concerned this change might be too heavy-handed and would overly neuter Protoss all-ins. While this change more directly and obviously hurts Protostall lands, it also weakens macro play, both by reducing the threat of potential attacks and reducing the strength of Warp and Harass. PvT in particular, we also have concerns this change could further push Protoss towards the already very popular Robotics Bay openers, so they don't want to create just a one-build popularity. All these concerns notwithstanding, even if this change does not make the final cut, we think there is value in spurring discussion within the community, and we look forward to hearing what you have to say, not only about this change, but about the entire package of pros. Yeah, it's a risky mid-year change. Holy shit, we've only got a few weeks till summer. So that means there's no way they're putting these changes until after WCS summer. And then there's a few months break until WCS Montreal. I think GSL versus the World might be in between. I'm not sure what the dates are for everything. Either way, as long as there's enough time to adjust, I am totally down with these changes, guys. I am totally down. I don't like this, oh, we're concerned, like, this is a risky change, we don't want to neuter it. I would like the StarCraft team to be a little bit more confident in the changes, even if just to change community perception. I know pro gamers as well, actually, as much as they do like consistency, a lot of them complain so much, and I think they do like things being made fresh a little bit, and some of the certain things just getting changed up. So I think, in general, this sort of change is not that risky. I actually would like to see Blizzard doing more of these more frequently, in part due to the community sentiment. As much as I hate that they try to address the Protoss concern and the whole community sentiment, because I think it's kind of a losing battle to change everyone, but at the same time, you can kind of steer the majority of the discussion in a certain direction, and that's absolutely something you can do with big changes. And lately, I feel like the community has become so toxic in some areas, Reddit especially, in terms of balance, where people are just screeching for balance. And it's like, I get the feeling, and a lot of video game communities are like this these days, even like across every game, where people, rather than wanting to figure out how to play the game better, everybody just wants mum and dad to give them a cookie. And I don't know if that's wrong, because this is partially how you make change happen as a community. I always err on the side of just trying to play the game as it is and figure out how to play it. And I always want to take responsibility. And for me, I try to direct all of my efforts away from kind of encouraging change unless I think it's very necessary. And I'm like, we really need this change. So I do feel it's kind of funny when everyone starts screeching, and it creates sort of an echo chamber where I feel like more and more people want to disown responsibility for their own losses and learning and improving. And they want to screech for mummy and daddy Blizzard to make a change to fix them being bad at the game. And the longer it goes without these changes going, I feel like more and more people are blaming balance for why they're losing. So I guess these changes are good. You want to have them in there because whenever there's changes, it just kind of shifts sentiment. The funny thing is, if I want to be purely honest, as much as this seems like a good change, I feel like more and more every day, I'm becoming more to Blizzard's point of view where it's just to appease the masses. I'm like, I'm sick of everyone complaining. Let's make this change to address this thing. And it's more based around perceived issues, because I'm not sure I believe there's actual issues in StarCraft ever. Like, I feel like the game is such a high skill ceiling and things shift based on collective understanding so much and how we experience them that it's very hard to have anything even approaching objectivity when we say this is imbalanced or this is broken or that's broken or anything like that. So I'm just very curious to see how this all goes. I guess what I'm trying to get at with that whole thing is anything to keep the community happy in a positive place is probably good. I think for me, it's a new challenge and it changes things up, and understanding that, it's kind of like discovering a new game, figuring out new builds. So that's what's exciting for me about these changes. And obviously, because I do want to give feedback, and I think Stim is the one where we might see something that's obviously too brutal one way or the other. So we'll see how it goes. I'll bring you guys more commentary on this. That's my own little introspective bit where I'm like, people always want to ask me about balance, and I'm always a little bit uninterested in it. And I just want to kind of give you guys feedback of why I don't think it's that important to overly think about balance all the time, and why I try to not focus on it. But when there are these things, obviously I'll give opinions. I'll have a think about the theory and share them. But I think it's something where ultimately it's a game where you've got so many strategies you can do, and the pro meta, I don't think it needs to affect us nearly as much as we let it. I think we can be a bit more free-thinking individuals, come up with our own builds and avoid the same problems the pros are encountering because we're not playing at that level. We're not playing against people playing that well. So anyway, guys, thanks for hanging out. I hope you enjoyed this community feedback update, plus a weird little introspective on why I normally don't care too much about balance. We'll see how it goes. Cool changes. Welcome to Stim, one base Stim all-ins returning. It's going to be fun. I'm gonna proxy 3 barracks in the corner of the map on one base. Go Stim, Marine Marauder, Stim up the ramp. We're bringing back 2010, baby. This is going to be the best testing map ever. I'll see you guys in a little bit.